Today we are going to be highlighting 5 overhyped fragrances that completely suck and you shouldn't buy them. We're also going to be going over 5 hyped up fragrances that are really good and they're worth the money. Because I understand as consumers, you guys don't get free bottles left and right or at all. And sometimes it can be hard to go in and try things out in store, leaving you with the only option of either making a blind buy or buying samples online. And in both situations, you're still going to be spending some money. And so I kind of want to try to steer you guys in the right direction to some extent. Keep in mind, this is only my personal opinion and this is very subjective. So what I think is good, you might hate, and what I think sucks, you might really like. And I don't mean to offend people when I cover that part of the video. I just think that for the money spent, there could be some better options, which I'll present those as well when we get to that section. So we'll start off with the good, the positives here. I think these are some fantastic scents that are worth all of the hype that they've received. Azzaro Chrome Extreme, it's an Acqua di Gio Profondo alternative at essentially half the cost or a bit less than half the cost. I mean, this is, $40-ish, somewhere around in there. And Profondo is, still going to be upwards of 100 even on discounters. And I think Acqua di Gio Profondo, that DNA, that scent style, is one of the most unique smells that we've gotten out of a marine scent within the past 5 to 10 years, really. And that's taking into consideration a lot of the other popular aquatics as well, even the Bulgari Aquas, which for a designer are pretty unique. I think Profondo is right in there. It's just super interesting, and it's a great, uplifting, fresh summer scent. But it can be a bit cost prohibitive. Not everybody has 110, 120 bucks laying around or whatever it might be, and sometimes it can be a bit less. But you could still save a lot of money with Chrome Extreme. Coming in at this price point, you get something that has great quality, great performance, and just ultimately is going to be a super usable warm weather scent. It has received a ton of hype. I'm sure most of you have heard about this one and maybe even smelled it at this point, but I think it's worth it. I think it's fantastic. If it was 80 bucks or something on discounters, what would be the point, But the fact that you can save money and still get a similar result, to me, that's a win-win. Now let's switch gears completely, going from a warm weather summer scent to more of a colder weather fall and winter scent. A little bit out of season for some of us, but still a fantastic scent that has received a ton of hype, especially within the fragrance community. And you might be wondering, is this worth a pickup or not? In my opinion, it's a phenomenal purchase, a no-brainer. And to me, it makes sense to get this one now while you still can, because if you look at historical data, all of the other flankers in this line have been discontinued, leaving only this one right now and the original one standing. And they have had some great flankers as well, so they're not afraid to get rid of the good stuff. It is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Dior, a mega company, pumping a ton of money into Sauvage at this point and has been for a while. Some of the other lines get neglected. We aren't getting a ton of new Dior Hommes anymore. We're not getting a ton of new Dior Fahrenheits anymore. And Fahrenheit Absolute, Fahrenheit 32, Fahrenheit Aqua, Fahrenheit Cologne, all really good releases, but they're gone now. This one is still around, and it is a great, great scent. That is a phenomenal improvement to me over the original. So beyond the violet leaves that you get from this DNA, pretty standard, you're getting some suede and some boozy notes in here as well. It's a sweeter, richer, more full-bodied and interesting take on that original Fahrenheit DNA. There's still some of that freshness in here that exists further on, but ultimately it is a lot more sweet and a lot more seductive as well. It has more of a nighttime feel to it. And like I said, within the community especially, it's gotten a ton of attention, a ton of talk, and it's one where, can sometimes be a little bit tricky to pinpoint. It's pretty consistently in stock right now, primarily I think because we're kind of out of the fall and winter season and everybody who wanted it bought it for that time of the year, and now because it's summertime for a lot of us, you might not be trying to get this one, so it's a bit easier to get right now. And it's not cheap. It's still 75 ml pure parfum for $110, $115 sometimes. So I can see why people might be apprehensive, but to me, it's a no-brainer purchase. It's a phenomenal designer scent with great quality, and another great performer. We'll stick with that cold weather trend here, but then we're gonna finish up the last two good ones here with a couple summer scents. So kind of sticking with the cold weather stuff, Stronger With You, absolutely. I think it's another great release, and this one's gonna be kind of geared towards the younger crowd, at least a little bit, because it's that new style, sweet chestnut, toffee smell, which is very trendy right now, and truthfully, it just works really well. And that's kind of where, you know, it comes to at this point. If you kind of see the trends, you kind of see where things are going. You had the blue scents ongoing, the iris scents for a while. At one point in time, there was an oud trend going on because people were wanting to get a little bit more daring. But ultimately, that's just kind of how it goes. Things come and go in waves. And this is kind of a style that just works really well at this point. At some point, it'll get played out and they'll be on to the next. But I think, you know, while this one works really well, it's worth getting in on. And to be fair, this is still going to be a great compliment getter when this trend is over with, you know, and you're on to the next. But this is just something that is effortless. When it's cold outside, you pick this one up, you spray it on, and you're good to go. So what I like is that it also has a boozy note in here, giving it a little bit more of a refined and mature personality compared to the original and intensely and things like that. Another parfum concentration. Personally, I think this is one of the best in the line, even over a few of the exclusive editions as well, which those are also really good too. It works. It's a no-brainer. It's a good performer. People love how it smells. You just can't go wrong with it. Okay, so we'll finish up with a couple warmer weather scents, and then we'll get on to the hyped up scents that are not worth your money. But this one is Rasasi Hawas. You know, I think for summertime, for younger guys, don't look any further. You really can get so much for the money. And what is the money? It's about $45 to $50. Anything beyond that, you're getting into the area of just overpaying and probably just shopping in the wrong spot. And if you go to another website, chances are, well, they'll have the same thing for 40 bucks. Sometimes it sells out, you know, in the places where it's the cheapest, it's going to sell out first, obviously. And then you might be getting impatient. You might want to go buy it somewhere else. That's completely your call. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money and you know, what to do with it. But just know the typical rate for this one is around 40 to 45. Sometimes in the peak summer season, you might see it 47 or something, but once you get up into the $65, $70, $80, $90 range, you know, I would be thinking twice. I have a mailing list and texting list that you can sign up to that's perfect for situations like this where things get in demand and they sell out and you might be wanting to pick it up when it comes back in stock, but you don't know when it comes back. I notify everything like that when new releases hit discounters, when rare stuff comes up as well. Along with the texting list you can sign up to if you prefer text alerts. Jump on both of those down below. This one's got plum, it's got watery notes, ambroxan, apple, a ton of fruits, a ton of citrus, a ton of ambroxan. So it kind of is in that blue fragrance category. It's the Invictus Aqua DNA, although this one originated that. And then Invictus Aqua came out just very, very shortly after this did. They were close. This has a 2015 release date, but remember, Invictus Aqua 2016, I believe, ended up hitting market end of 2015 or very early on in 2016. So they were closer together than I think people realize. It doesn't matter, but this is the one that's still standing. Invictus Aqua is gone aside from the new 2024 that's allegedly coming up. Who knows what that one consists of either. But I think it's a fantastic summer, playful beast mode scent that you can't go wrong with. And in the community, it's gotten so much attention. You might be kind of thinking, is it really worth it? To me, at the price point that it typically goes for, it 100% is. Last up, we have Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. What a fantastic one that needs zero introduction, so I'll breeze past this one. But you guys know the general idea. It's a grapefruit incense, woody, smoky scent with a ton of ambergris, or most likely ambroxan. The blue fragrance originator, well, technically the Eau de Toilette, but the Eau de Parfum is probably the most popular choice these days, and I think the Parfum is another really good one, but the Eau de Parfum is more popular, so a lot of hype with this one for good reason. It's one of the most classy and sophisticated fresh, clean men's fragrances that you can buy. And even now in 2024, there's not a doubt in my mind that this one is still worth it. It's expensive and you can't get it on discounters really, but it's worth it. Save up for it and get yourself a bottle. You can get a 150 ml like this for a decent price per mil in comparison to the 100s and especially the 50 mls. That's a bad way to go, and I have a couple 50 mls. Don't really recommend it from a price per milliliter standpoint, but man, Bleu de Chanel, Eau de Parfum, you can't go wrong with it. All right, now let's get into the fragrances that are super hyped up, but really aren't worth it in my opinion. And like I said, I'm not just gonna leave you hanging. I'm not gonna be a dick and just hate on these and then just leave it at that. I'm gonna give you alternatives to each of these and explain why I think that they aren't really worth purchasing. Starting off with Mont Blanc Explorer Ultra Blue. I don't think this is all that good. I think your options are plentiful when it comes to this style, which is, no surprise, a blue fragrance. All right, there are so many. I just covered one, and yeah, that one's expensive, but let's look at some other ones, some other comparables when we're talking about price. Dylan Blue, Ferragamo Acqua Essenziale Blue, and then you can go into something a little bit more expensive like, I don't know, YSLY Eau de Parfum, YSLY Eau de Parfum Intense, YSLY Le Parfum, a whole bunch of those, L'Homme Le Parfum, so many. And that's not even scratching the surface. I've done many videos on blue fragrances. This one usually never makes it in for the reasons that I just said. I don't think that it really has the same appeal. It doesn't have the same character as some of the others. And that's why I think you're better off with some of those. Or you're better off with buying the original Explorer, which at least is a really solid Creed Aventus clone. And that one is infinitely better than this one too. But if you are curious, some of the notes here are bergamot, sea notes, woody notes, and of course a ton of ambroxan. Looks good on paper, looks fine, looks like about what you would expect. It just doesn't really offer a whole lot that you probably don't have already. Next up, we have the original Azzaro Wanted. Yeah, I've never gotten into this one. I remember first buying it, blind buy. It was wintertime when I got it in. And I was new, very new to this, had a very underdeveloped nose. I just didn't really know what I was talking about, didn't really know what I was smelling about, really. And didn't even like it then. And this appeals to people like me at the time, not really trying to pick things apart, just wanting something that smells good and is easy to pull off. And even at that point, I just didn't care for it. Similar deal with Explorer Ultra Blue. You have so many more options that are infinitely better than this. Sticking with the same line, Wanted by Night, the Most Wanted Parfum, the Most Wanted, those are all fantastic. You could also go over to something like some of the Invictus fragrances, because this one often gets compared to Invictus. So Invictus Victory Elixir, and Invictus Victory, Invictus Legend, Invictus Platinum, Invictus Intense. Stronger with you, absolutely. A lot of things that just kind of do a similar thing, just better. It's an affordable one. It's one of the cheapest Azzaro Wanted. It's the originator. Still has good performance. I just think there are better things out there. I don't really care for it. Next up, we have Hugo Boss The Scent Pure Accord. So underwhelming that I completely forgot this existed until I was putting this video together. Okay, it's got ginger, maninka fruit, white suede. I think this is a miss. This is one of the very few misses within the Hugo Boss The Scent line. In fact, probably the only one. And even from Hugo Boss, like from their Boss The Scent and Boss Bottle, they have a lot of good ones. They have a couple bad ones. This is one of the bad ones. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense. Now, I respect them for trying to create more of a lighter, summer, fresher version, because after all, the scent lineup, focusing in on the maninka fruit, a lot of them are having coffee and leather and woods and sweeter notes going on. It makes sense. But I just don't think this was the move. I think they could have gone a different direction with it. I don't know what that would be. I just don't like this one, and I don't think it's really worth spending the money on. Stick with Hugo Boss The Scent when you want something good for the cooler weather. And if you want something fresher, just go for another fresh scent. It's kind of how I look at this. Next up, we have Davidoff Run Wild Davidoff, you know, they've got a lot of affordable scents on discounters. This is one of them, you know, it's $25, $30, somewhere around in there. But to me, not all that exciting. It's another Invictus smelling scent. And yes, there are a lot of them. And yes, there are a few that I like. This one just isn't really it for me. It's got ginger, lavender, fir resin. You know, they might get you with that note breakdown. They might make it sound a bit more interesting than it is. But when you get this one in, you quickly realize, yeah, you know, you could probably do without this. And just to run this by you one more time, I'm not saying that this or any of these are, you know, things that don't smell good, because as far as a smelling good aspect from people around you, they're all going to do that. But I just think, again, you could spend your money on better things. Last up, we have John Varvatos Artisan Teal. And you guys know, I love John Varvatos. This is really the only John Varvatos fragrance that I don't like a ton. It's got lemon, sea salt, water lily. That basically translates to they made something that smells like a watered down YSL-Y. And those notes aren't even really within any correlation to the YSL-Y lineup. But when you smell this one, it smells like it. So again, you can see my frustration there, seeing the super cool bottle, bringing back some of that signature John Varvatos wickering. I was excited. Thought it was going to be a unique release because, you know, when it's first released and you're only looking at notes, you don't know the comparisons. Got it in and was pretty much like, yeah, that's YSL-Y. So here's what it is, a bit of a letdown. I wish they would have gone a different direction with it. Come back to the old ways, John Varvatos, of Artisan, Artisan Pure, Artisan Aqua, Artisan Blue, Dark Rebel Rider, some of the best designer scents out there in this price bracket. Those, a lot of them are no longer, and this is what we're getting now. That sucks. Don't buy this. Buy any of the YSL-Ys or any other affordable blue fragrance in this price range. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. 5 overhyped fragrances that are just not worth the money, and then 5 that I personally do think are still worth the money and still worth picking up. All of these will be linked down below regardless. If you want to check any of them out, you can save some money there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.